And this one. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to The Gathering Presents Warhammer 40k Wrath and Glory, Howl of the Lost, Episode 2, Corridors of Silence. When we last left off our little group of misfits and truly treasure hunters and the like, they had moved out of the main hive city bustling on Sylvanas to the ruins of one that used to exist on this planet before, well, war. Upon which they found that this hive city, whilst the top was ruined, the underhive remained relatively intact. But not only that, it seems, at the very least, that the underhive was populated by some kind of small creatures with a cult-like culture, especially with the zombific chanting and mentions of something called the Great Horned Rat Day. Whatever Great Horned Rat Day is. Getting rid of these creatures who try to murder you with several very deadly traps, including but not limiting to a rockfall trap and a modern equivalent of the trap where two logs swing and crash together and squish whatever's between them. As well as, well, literally flinging themselves at you. Yes, literally flinging themselves via means of some improvised little slingshot out of a piece of elastic and a piece of what you could assume to be like maybe the insides of some Imperial Standard issue flak armor. Scavenged materials is really the only way that one could put that with any massive kind of accuracy. But you defeated their leader. More specifically, Gorshmak, you made his head explode. And upon, upon dealing with the rest of it, you decided that A, there was some stuff here that needed looting, because, well, they're not going to need it anymore, and B, that there would be a couple of prisoners taken for interrogation purposes, but the rest were not to be spared. And Farashi, it is with this mentality that your fellow sisters set forth and did exactly as you asked of them. We come back in to the ruins of the Underhive. Cloak, you would just come back off your little expedition slash house search slash slight ransacking. Gorshmak, you have just finished your ritual of harvesting teeth, because, I mean, you gotta get something out of this, right? I mean, you made the big dude's head explode and all of that. Them giving up their teeth is the least of what they could do for you. Pure, you are currently finishing off a meal of one of these potato ratlings. And Farashi, currently you would be standing there as your sisters begin to return. A pair of these little potato-looking rat-like creatures in tow. Cloak, just as a reminder of what it is that you found, you had found a official Departamento Monitorum requisition form for one melter gun. Where it came from, you have no idea, as far as where it came from before it ended up in the house that you found it. As the name and who was requesting the item specifically has been splattered out with a little bit of blood. They're not going to mind that the administrator deals with blood on their paperwork all the time. It's kind of just a occupational hazard at this point. As for the key that you found, said it's very obviously mechanical in nature. It's not like a data shard or anything like that, but its design, patterning, and the fact that it gives off a blue glow tells you that this key must be alien. Especially since it's not enough of a skull. It doesn't have enough skull motifs to be Imperial. And it's not warping your mind or anything, so you could probably figure that it's not anything Chaos related. It's probably belonged to some other Xeno race that has been here on Sylvanas at one point and was just left behind in the ensuing aftermath of what had happened.
I mean, alien's a relative term, but
yes, the aliens is a relative term. A species that is not human and not yours. Is really what you get from that, lest you wish to make a scholar check to see if you can more identify its origins.
Why the heck not? As soon as the character sheet actually loads.
Yeah, the character sheet's a little packed, so it can be a little slow to load sometimes. That's 2. Given its design, you would know this to be... Well, you wouldn't exactly know who it belongs to, or who made it. You could probably make an educated guess that this is some kind of Eldari tech. Whether it be... But to what kind, you're not sure.
I'll just keep that with me and quiet until it becomes relevant.
You know that if anyone had a chance of identifying it, it would be the one who would be most able to identify Eldari technology, and that would be the Drukari.
And for the moment, they're busy.
Yes, for the moment they are busy, as you do see the two of her sisters walking by, kind of looking around. Their eyes settle on you for a moment before kind of just looking at what you're doing before they leave to move on to try and find some other people, because you're not their target at the moment. At the moment. Of course, with the Drukari, depending on how she feels, that could change at any time. Speaking of the Drukari, though, Farashi, you can hear the screams of the little potato things from here, and whilst they're small, they make good noises. And that if you didn't have another job, you're sure that the homunculus could stitch together a whole bunch of these things to make some kind of musical instrument that would be exceptionally entertaining. But you are brought two of these small potato things, both of whom are currently quaking in their boots. So that you may ask questions and get out whatever information you might find to be useful. One of your sisters had the forethought to save a couple, because, well, whilst you had the fun of dealing with the chanting, beam-throwing head of this, well, you could only call it a cult of some kind, and the ones there listening to him, they weren't very much fun, all things considered. So now that they are in front of you, what is it that you would like to do? What would you like to ask them? Derek, if you try to say something, you are currently muted.
Cricket, cricket. Well, I guess I have to find something to do in this scene then.
Well, hold on a sec. Okay, so that isn't jumping out. Actually, before we get to that, we will move over very quickly to Gorshmak, because Gorshmak, you have been busy. You have been quite busy. You have all of these little potato things here, and they all have perfectly good teeth, minus the big one whose head you made explode. You would have just finished your harvest And these teeth are pitiful. Tiny, tiny teeth.
Gorshmak holds up one of his newly acquired piece of loot, but seems to be comparing it with one that he already had amongst his baubles and jangly bits. He seems disappointed at best.
Yeah, you know, if you take these back to the Planet Smasher, that the 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 requisitioner, that they, or at least that's what you've heard some of the more disciplined on board call the guy who gives you your stuff. Is gonna be like each of those teeth. You're gonna need 10 of those to equal a regular regular tooth. And considering all like the effort that you and your current compatriots went through to harvest these, it's such a shame. But it just feels the imperative to find something a little bigger.
How many teeth was I able to collect from all of these little potato rats?
So from the little potato rats, you were able to collect. Let's see here.
I will note that I did help him with the gathering of teeth and handed them over before devouring my meal.
Yes, yes. You would
Sorry.
have gotten 40 teeth, 40 teeth a corpse. And considering there were 11 corpses that you could harvest teeth from, there would have been 12, but you made one of the heads exploded on that, and unfortunately, the teeth are no longer in a what would be called suitable condition for use as currency. 40 times 11, 400, 440 teeth?
480.
I'd be 440 because the last corpse wasn't harvestable because Goshmak popped his
right.
head. But yeah, no, 440 teeth, although, you know, considering that the requisition is probably gonna be a hard ass and make each of these make each of one of these worth only a tenth of an actual tooth because it's not big enough. You'll probably get like 40 to 45 teeth worth of goods out of the the stockpile. And I mean 45 teeth, like 40 to 44 teeth isn't bad. Like 44 teeth is it's it's 6 sixes and then an extra 6 and then an extra 2. Because everyone knows that orcs can only count up in multiples of 6. Every orc knows that.
Gorshmak opens up one of his pouches and lets the tinkling of masticating tools fill the area around him as he drops them one by one in a cascade of yellowed, browning, and broken teeth fill the pouch. He turns to regard Farashi and the oncoming inquisition of those that remain before settling those unsettling orange eyes upon the two Kroot and their feast.
Yes. And it is within that as you as you finish filling up your bag with the fruits of yours and Pure's combined labor before, of course, Pure going off to have his meal. Now, now we move to Farashi, who, as previously stated, you have been brought some prisoners, or at the very least, torture subjects to be interrogated for information. One of your devotees had the foresight to bring them to you so that you may ask questions and have a little bit of extra fun if you didn't get your fill with the last lot.
Well, aren't they all just wonderful little... Still, I'll be taking some time to be sure that the interrogation is thorough. Everybody seems to be charging towards this... what would you call it? I know that it's for no mere meltagun, that's for sure. What else is driving them here? I'm left to wonder. I'm sure between me and my, loath to say this, companions, we'll be able to find something of note, but still, it's disheartening to end up knowing that at the end of it all, you may not even come across something of value. Perhaps I'm just growing impatient. At least the rules in the arena are straightforward.
Very, very much so. Much more straightforward than an actual battlefield, to say the least. But the two are brought over to you, and one of your sisters speaks up. We had the foresight to keep these two alive. It seems that they might have something of use. And we thought that, dear, that you didn't get enough fun in that last little encounter.
Farashi recalls the encounter. Perhaps it was simply on the fact that she didn't end up tapping the combat drugs that were available to her. Or maybe she was left to her own devices and simply thought the better of it. Still, it is something of note. I have a small amount of appreciation for my sister, though I should never end up saying such things aloud. It's only a point of weakness, nevertheless. I have them bring me to this, well, small amusement at the very least. Very least I can end up having a moment of glee and get my fill for the end. Wouldn't that be entertaining?
That was the thought of your sisters. You are brought to these two, and they are already tied up using a razor file each, no less. So wiggling and squirming will cause the blade to the whip-like blade to dig in to the skin. Causing them no small amount of pain, you're sure.
Well, and for a penny. I believe that's how they say it.
Oh, yes, exactly right. But they look up at you. as you come in, and there is fear. There is true fear in those eyes. The two small sets of beady, kind of jaundiced looking eyes. And they speak. It's like, we'll tell you everything we know. Just don't kill us. This seems to be the older of the two speaking.
Dear, I think you misunderstand. You're begging for the wrong thing.
Oh,
I unfortunately don't have a lot of, but I do know ways to make things linger. So let us press on, shall we?
and
I
this-
need to know about this thing that has brought all the wonderful here armies of the stars together. What is it that these mongrels seek, and where is it found? You clearly here have seen the battle just above, all the wreckage. I'm sure you've even looted your fair share. I have a companion that knows a thing or two about looting, after all. So I would like to end up getting right to the point. And it's at that point I end up looking at my combat drugs at that point. Now, I will tell you this. Every time I'm told something that I don't know, the other one will end up getting a small amount of affection from me. If I am told something I already know, well, I guess I get to have double the fun.
and
Am I understood? Have I made myself?
and they both nod emphatically to you, like yes, they understand, and they're like looking to each other about what's it thing. Ah, there's a thing. I think Edge had a thing, didn't he? Yeah, he had this key thing. He had it hidden under his bed. Blue, glowy. We don't know what it was, but that it was a thing that he had, and that's a thing. Although we're talking the ships and the war and everything. Maybe they were looking for the big green glowy thing?
The big green glowy. Fantastic. I believe it's at that point I'm going to have to inject the other one with combat drugs. Which I think we've already explained on what that does to somebody who is not Drukari.
Oh, yes. For those who aren't aware, it deals mortal wounds. It deals unresistible damage to those who might take it. I'm just going to very quickly open an abundance of Apocrypha just to check how many mortal wounds. It's at least one, but I want to check if it's a D3 or a D6. I think it might be a D6.
Well, here's hoping. This I'd prefer to be a D3, but it is what it is.
Well, I may have something for you there if it is a D6. Once my Adobe decides that it's gonna stop just straight up lagging on me. Because it can tend to do that sometimes. Get rid of you, get rid of you, get rid of you and you, and then I can have a look at that. There we go. Alright, now scroll down to the war gear. Medics. Where is it? Tools and equipment. There it is. Okay. Hecatari combat drugs. Oh, up a little further. There it is. Oh no, it's 1d6 shock. So, nope, it is not mortal wounds, it is shock. And this one is going to be taking 4 shock. I will note, however, that any shock taken above max shock is mortal wounds. He takes 4 shock and he's like, "Arr, arr!" Like, it's very, very uncomfortable. You're sure the one that you injected is probably now having very vivid, very nasty audio visual hallucinations.
I'm almost disappointed he's not frothing at the mouth just yet. What do you think? Should we double the dosage?
One of this pipes up. On one hand, he may not be able to talk, but on the other, well.
Well, might as well press your lead.
Yes. Yes. Might as well press a lead. And
If he ever comes to, then he's gonna remember what you did. I think he's gonna be very anxious.
oh yes, very, very anxious. They last for about an hour, and so the other one is looking on horrified, absolutely horrified, as the thing turns back to you. A big green glowy thing. Story told to me by Edge. He used to go out and scavenge all sorts of stuff, and apparently he said that him and his friends were looking for stuff, and they found it. They found this big green glowy thing, and well, apparently it disintegrated like 2 of them.
Where?
I think you went to the north. If I remember correctly, I think
Are
you went to the
you
north.
sure?
Only as sure as I can be. It is a story after all, and
I start reaching for another combat drug.
oh, wait. I know is that he went out. He said it was to the north. I don't know how far, and he said that he had found they found the bunker. It was like a bunker type thing, and it was like like locked, but they took Nodge with them, and Nodge can pick locks, and they picked the lock and they got in, and they explored, and it was creepy, and they found this big green glowy thing, and it disintegrated Nodge and another one, and he ran.
You know, I'm starting to get the impression he's not taking me seriously. What do you think, sister?
I think that assessment would be correct. I think that he's definitely not taking you serious enough.
I'm gonna not describe the things that could potentially be used against you on Twitch. Suffice it to say, use your imagination. But at that point, let's see. Would it require a roll at this point? Or
For
trying to drive out more? I literally... Farashi wants to milk him dry for every bit of information possible. And we got time until his friend recovers.
yeah, you've got about an hour. So here's what I'll do. This will be a degrees of success roll. This will be a degrees of success roll on an intimidation attack. You are at a +5 for this.
Bonus die +5?
Yep. You've got 4 dice. If you want to spend a wrath, you can.
How much wrath do we have?
You start with 2.
Yeah, I think I will. How would I end up doing that on the
So on the main page, in the top right-hand corner, you'll see a wrath marker. You'll just mark that down to 1 and hit the reroll button on the API box that has your roll in the chat box. You see there's a reroll button, you just hit the reroll button, and it'll reroll the dice. That'll net you another 3 successes for 12.
That'll work. That will do.
To drive out more. You apply all kinds of unfathomable techniques that we're not going to describe on Twitch, but if any of you out there are familiar with the Drukhari and the way that they do things, or if you've seen the movie, any of the Hellraiser movies, you know, just to use your imagination and go as deep and as dark as you'd like. But there's screaming and crying and all sorts of other things, and he spills everything to you. Things that you may have been looking to hear, and a lot that you weren't. Of the information that's actually useful, you get you get an admission that this little potato thing has also been out to the bunker that Edge, Nodge, and the other unnamed creature had gone and explored, and you get coordinates. You get that the door is still locked. They picked the lock, but it locked. Like, as they exited, it locked behind them. They had to basically pick it to get in, pick it to get out. Edge was lucky in that he didn't set up the security system, but he does say that Edge did find a key, and that he had that key hidden under his bed. He has no idea on what the big green glowy thing is, although there were some defenses inside this bunker that were, well, absolutely terrifying, all things considered. And that there were traps in there, probably as part of some kind of secondary security system. Whatever this big green glowy thing they're referring to is, well, You're not sure whether it's the quote-unquote tesseract that you had been contracted to look for. But considering he said that it disintegrated two ratlings, two of these little potato creatures, you're probably sure that that even if it's not exactly what you're looking for, that the incubus on board the Fang of Entropy and might even Overlord Vect himself would pay a very a hefty amount of lip service and a lot in the terms of rewards and glory and other such things for something such as that, especially if what the Ratling is saying is true. And considering how absolutely terrified this Ratling is and his friend there frothing and flailing in his binds, still digging them in a little further, you feel no reason to believe that they're lying, per se. There's not really any way that they can hide anymore.
I'm very grateful. I think it's at that point I'm going to end up having them lashed together at the neck. Collars that don't offer a lot of movement. And tell him to end up here getting him and his companion out of here. To end up going out, crawling in their current form, as I'm fairly certain walking is not an option in this current state. But I'm going to end up being sure as to not allow them to be touched as they leave, sending them on their way towards an encampment. And I make sure that's a very strong suggestion. After all, it's like basting a turkey.
It's like basting a turkey, is it? It's a very fine turkey. But whilst you make the suggestion, and the one who's not currently frothing and flailing and otherwise just completely out of it goes to follow your suggestion, the other one, the one that is frothing and flailing about, kind of, once they're lashed to the neck, there's nothing stopping from tackling the other one to the floor, the non-hallucinating one to the floor. And I'm not going to describe what happens next. All I'm going to tell you is that this is exceptionally violent and bloody and involves teeth and barely clawed hands.
I'm just taking a moment to drink it in. After all, I feel like I've skipped a meal.
Have you taken any shock damage since... have you taken any shock since,
Not as of yet.
not as of
But-
yet? Then, yes, this is just, you were just deriving the requisite sixth sense of amusement.
I
Out
think
of,
it's about. I go about and, well, discuss this with my current companions. Or scapegoats, I haven't decided which yet.
And as the two fight one.
Having not the appreciation for the theatrics that the Jakari does, and finding this this scene to just be a distraction, as it were. And now the key has come up, as it has been mentioned. I would like to, if I can, dispatch the frothing one by lodging the key into them in some way.
So you would be a little ways away. As Farashi's coming back, she went to them.
Fair enough.
They kind of met halfway.
Well, but I am not even aware of the theatrics and take no issue with it then.
You would have heard some screaming. Like you would have heard some screaming and some crying, but considering you did see four highly trained Drukari leap away with crazed looks on their faces and razor flails at the ready, you're not surprised that there would be screaming and crying. In fact, if there wasn't,
it's a Tuesday. Yeah.
if there wasn't, you'd be concerned.
Well, in that case, not having been there for that conversation, I will just.
Farashi will certainly inform you.
Yes.
Sparing none of the details, I assure you.
Yes. As soon as she gets back, as you three would be, as Gorshmak, you would be kind of hefting the bag and hefting the bag and looking to the direction of where Farashi went. Probably with the thought in your mind, well, these teeth aren't going to get me anything. Pure with you just finishing up the very last little bits of your meal before you do a little cleanup and discard, and Cloak with you having kind of joined in a little. It'd be Farashi coming back, and yes, sharing the story of what it is that she learned from these two about Edge and Nodge, and about how they found the big green glowy thing, and about the key, and about the bunker to the north. And probably also sparing no expense of describing to you the flailing of the one that was injected with the combat drugs in AV hallucinations, and then the savagery that occurred once she let them go and lashed them by the neck. So if this would be the point where you would want to bring up the key.
Not quite yet. I'd like to see what the others have to say on any of this.
Okay.
Why use 3 words when one will do?
Nope, that is fair enough.
So, let me get this straight. There's an orb thing to the north. Obviously our target. There's a key or something. And these things knew where it was. In that case, we should search for this key. Yes, no.
Well, if you wish to end up digging through these things here in living quarters, here, by all means. This place is filthy.
It is pretty filthy. Pure, even for you, like there's like the highborn, even if it's even if it's just middle class clean, is like, oh, this is filthy. No, this is actually filthy. But you figure, considering there was war going on just above, war going on just above with all the dust and the formation of traps and the fact that you know, with the chanting, you could with the chanting and the preaching of the big guy about this great horned rat day thing, and you know, him chanting it crazily, and some of them looking at you guys and going, "Eat the toll, become the toll." They're probably primitive, and not just in the way that Farashi finds things primitive.
In that case, when they talked about the key, Farashi, did they mention a shape or something of that matter?
It's blue.
I'd like to survey the room for anything blue.
You know what? Go ahead and make me an awareness, please.
Can do, will do.
Two.
Okay. 2.
Aside maybe a little bit of what is being worn, you might see like the tiniest little flash of blue in Gorshmak's like regalia. There's nothing blue in here. It's all browns and yellows and steel gray.
Would I know that cloak left the room, or Gorshmak might have left the area as I was eating?
Oh yeah, you'd almost certainly know I left.
Yep. You would know that Cloak actually did say that he was going off to have a little look around.
Being the scout and whatnot.
Yeah, he left to have a look around. So you would definitely expect that. Yeah, Cloak had gone off to go to do exactly what he said he was gonna.
No. Cloak, you didn't see anything odd in your scavenge of this desolate wasteland of decay and horned rats, did you not?
Trying to decide if Cloak would keep this under wraps to make himself more valuable or not. Yeah, no, he at this point would just wordlessly produce the keys since people are asking.
Yep. So for Farashi, Gorshmak, and Pure. Farashi, from what you were told, and Gorshmak and Pure, from what Farashi told you about what she was told. It's got a slight blue glow. It's key-shaped. It's definitely more advanced than anything in this room, including Pure's galvanic rifle. This must be the key that this little potato creature was talking about.
Ah. You did well, brother. You have much value to us.
And yeah, upon seeing the key, you can very obviously tell. Yeah, that must be the key she was talking about. There's nothing else here that's like that. Not in the slightest. Farashi, would you have given them told them that you were given the coordinates of this bunker, or?
I would have told them I know where to lead them.
Okay.
I know where the bunker is.
Yeah, so you
But I need to keep incentive to end up keeping me alive.
which is fair enough. So, yeah, you've been told by Farashi that she knows where to lead you guys in regards to this thing. And now the key is very obviously in your group's possession, or at least it's in Cloak's possession. What is it that you four will wish to do with the information that you have gathered here? You know that you could also go looking further into the Undercity if you decided that to leave the bunker for a bit and do a bit more exploration. But you know you were not how you say strapped for time.
I'm pretty sure Cloak was doing that.
Oh yes.
Doing
Cloak was
which now?
scouting to see what our options would actually
Oh
entail.
yes.
Yep. So you have the key. You have the key, and you have the bunker. You have the location of the bunker. At least Farashi does, and she says that she knows where to lead you. Cloak, in your scouting, you would also know that the Underhive does go deeper, like a lot deeper. So you could also do some digging around in here and see what else you could find. But it'd be a matter of whether you wanted to stay or whether you wanted to leave.
I mean, for the moment, as long as the key remains in my possession, I have enough value as far as he's concerned to be left alive, as it were, and he's been sent here to find this target, even though he's express only for the one questioning word of Necron, his concern that he's worried that this green glow is Necron. Before kind of just making his way to do exactly as you've said, where he's going to scout out the other options and see what else lies below.
Okay. You're gonna relate to the others that you're after your search that you're gonna go ahead and scout below.
That is his job. Yep.
All right. So the rest of you are told that from Cloak that now that you know they have one option. He's also gonna take a look further down to see if there's anything else of value, anything else that might be gleaned from this place before you leave. And I'm guessing you're going to fly off in that direction, Cloak? In the direction of further in?
Well, I mean, if we're underground, I don't know how safe it is to fly off.
It is a high-ceilinged underground. Think like the think if you've ever played Final Fantasy VII, think like the slums under the plate.
These straps are made for the tall, however.
Yes.
It seems a safer bet to stay close to the ground and use my camouflage as much as possible.
Yes, to avoid the traps made for the tall by the potato ratlings who, I mean, there might be more of them, even.
Well, and despite having the ability of flight, he's very comfortable close to the ground.
Alright.
Kind of like a prowling cat, as it were.
Yeah. Alright, could I get you to make me an awareness, please? Wow. Oh, all right. That is an 8. That is 4 exalted icons on 6 dice. 4 sixes on 6 dice. That's pretty fucking good. So you look around, like keeping close to the ground. In this direction, you don't see any more. You don't see or trigger any more traps. There just aren't any here. I'm guessing that this is not either not an entry that would be used by the Tall, and if it was, maybe it's barred off in some other manner. But you begin heading a bit deeper into the into the underhive, and there's definitely stuff here. You begin to see lights. Cables of steel with little blue lights kind of showing out of it, bathing this place in a dark blue. And as you move further in, they're intertwined everywhere.
And during the scouting expedition, does my Auspex pick up anything? Anything,
Your
that an
Auspex.
Auspex in particular would pick up. I mean.
Yes, well, your Auspexes, I believe, are specifically designed to pick up. I believe they are designed to specifically to pick up life signs. Energy
I
emission,
believe so, yes.
energy emissions, motions, and other life signs within 50 meters. Okay, so you're not picking up life signs, and you're not picking up motion, but energy emissions everywhere. Like literally everywhere.
Well, and with that, I will return to the party and convey that.
Yep. I will say, upon examination of of these, like the blue lights and the piping and stuff, it seems to be technological in nature. Like it's not like it's not like bioluminescent flesh or anything twisted like that. No, it's
I gathered as cables. Yeah.
Yeah, like cables and stuff like that. And so you were told of the energy sign, the energy signs and everything down. The energy signs and everything picked up further into the underhive, and that there's this luminescent. There's this steel cabling with windows that give out this blue light, luminescing everything in this dark blue color, and they're intertwined everywhere in this underhive. Like further in, they're intertwined everywhere. It's not like here where there's basic regular warm yellow lights and everything is bathed in yellows and oranges and browns and all of those kinds of colors. And as Cloak returns, he shares with you the basically the things that he saw and detected with both your Auspex quills and your Omnispecs.
That's the one I was thinking of. Thank you.
Yeah. So the Omnispecs is basically, it is an Auspex, but it also allows sharing of information through a high-capacity data tether, whereas you normally can't do that with a regular Auspex. And it's good that you have both, because your quills act as an Auspex to 30 meters, because after 30 meters you need to rely on the Omnispecs for information, which means that technically you have an Auspex to... It basically means that you've doubled up to have an Auspex to 50 meters. But no, Farashi, Gorshmak, and Pure, this information is shared with you with Cloak Returns, talking about how the things that they saw.
An energy source might be of use, but I am led to believe that we are all after the same item. And as such, I've been brought upon this here journey specifically for that item. Since it's not in our possession, I am wishing to press forward.
Alright. So,
What says the rest of the group?
yes, what saith the group? Specifically Gorshmak and Pure.
Given our new information of advanced civilization everywhere, and given our goal is not here, nor is it further down in the underworld, or underhive, as it were, PR would fiddle with the bone of one of the ratlings, and after sucking the marrow clean, north then. Yes?
Alright. Gorshmak, what say you in this moment?
Gorshmak lets his gaze linger down one of the long passageways of the underhive. After a long moment, he hefts his sack, within which the tinkling of teeth can be heard, before he grunts heavily. Gorshmak told you before. Gorshmak here for two things only. Gorshmak here for crump. Gorshmak here for loot. Gorshmak, move on. Find item. Get off lousy planet.
I believe the eyes have it.
Yes. And of course, if you don't find exactly what you're looking for in this, the stories of this glowy green thing, you always have another avenue to explore. Because of course, well, you know exactly how to get back here. Cloak, what say you as the group discusses what to do next?
Honestly, you just have that expression and gesture of I'm waiting. Let's go. You know, like as if there were a door there he's already holding open because he's already been and come back.
Yep. Okay. Then with the decision made, I would assume that you guys are heading back up to the surface to your hidden to your currently hidden parked Land Raider, to head north towards the bunker.
Before we depart, I would ask Cloak if there's anything of interest that he saw during these caverns and hovels that you've looked through.
And this is where I wish I had a voice decided for this character, or even mannerisms, really, beyond the whole stoic, stalker character. But Cloak at this point would express his concern that whatever item they're here for, be it an energy source, or whatever it turns out to be, because of the sheer amount of cabling and whatnot, it suggests that it's anchored into the structure, and take a good deal of effort to extricate from here, if at all possible. And again, that it potentially might be Necron, and he's concerned about that.
Yes. Pure. This would be the first time that you've heard the word Necron mentioned in the context of the item that you're here to find.
Yes, it's interesting they were involved. Potentially. Cloak, what say you that it may?
We had seen signs of Necron remains, as it were, on the surface, and just the details as they line up so far makes me concerned that this is more of that.
Ah, yes, answering the question before it's asked. Thank you.
Yes, there was.
I didn't notice any Necron activity up there.
Oh, that's right. You did not. Only Cloak
No.
spotted the destroyed Scorpec Scarab Destroyer. I think that's what it's called.
No, Pure on his trip in basically said, "Ooh, what's that? Ooh, what's that? Ooh, shiny. Ooh, shiny." As far as he was aware.
Super high perception for the win.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very aware and insightful as to one's surroundings.
Yeah, I scored a 0 on that if I remember.
Yes, you did. You didn't
So,
complicate,
yeah.
but you didn't see anything.
No. Ooh, big shiny destroyed thing.
Multiple. Lots of big shiny destroyed things.
But now that the Necron are involved, this case gets a bit
Potentially
complicated, does it not?
involved.
Yes.
Well,
I might be worrying needlessly, but when they're involved, better to worry needlessly than find out you're correct.
yes, considering we can't shape ourselves with them, it does complicate things. North. And he will start, heading toward what he would perceive as north.
Yep.
Again, not knowing, up from down in this underhive.
Yep. You would be stopped by one of the by one of the Drukari witches, who says to you, "The little rat thing probably meant north on the surface, you blithering idiot."
He'll bow his head. Thank you for your wisdom. And retraces steps back to the surface.
Yeah. So the lining up to the surface is not getting back up to the surface is simple. There's really only one trap to deal with, and you were all in enough of a condition that it's not really anything to worry about. You know where the trigger is for it, so you manage to avoid just triggering the trap altogether. Return to the surface. To the ruins of the hive city. It blasted with ash, the ashen sand of Sylvanus, kind of leaving little flashes of silver in the air. And the Land Raider is brought around for you all, such that you might be able to head north in it to try and find this bunker, or in the case of Farashi, head straight for it, as the little potato ratling in question was kind enough, or I mean, I suppose kind enough is the right word, to provide actual coordinates. It is going to be a little bit of a ride. So, what thoughts go through each of your heads as you jump into the Land Raider and begin to head north?
In the case of Cloak, if we are dealing with Necron, really he's just formulating on how to best benefit from the situation before making a very hasty exit for everyone else to deal with the problem. Other than that, it's just perception all the way along. Keep a sharp eye out.
Okay.
Leave the others to be a scapegoat, as it were, as it was previously said, to paraphrase the Drakari.
Yes. Although, of course, you would not be aware that she said it. The thought is definitely there.
When it comes to Necrons, oh yeah.
Speaking of, Farashi, what is it that's going through your mind at this point, as your one of your sisters drives the Land Raider?
I think at this point I am simply hedging my bets. This may be the way to go. One can hope at the very least I get to end up watching something get incinerated, as was promised. But the more horrible thought is that this is not the way to the Tesseract. And if that is the case, then I'm going to be mildly upset. But such things are what they are. I don't wish to end up alarming anyone in that regard, but it is something to be considered. I personally will end up finding this to be a very long and arduous journey. That of my compatriots, I have to end up considering we have the fruit. Very simple things. Gloriously so in some cases. I can appreciate. Only, as inelegant as it may be, simple can be a benefit, especially in matter of deception. While I take a look at Gorshman, well, what he lacks in refinement, he more than makes up with enthusiasm. And where I come from, that counts.
Oh yes, you can just imagine it. Gorshmak in the arenas. He probably would not be liked very much due to the fact that he is a psyker, and psykers are close to she who thirsts, which is an unpleasant thought even for you. But in that same breath, even though he is a psyker, he is still an orc. Not only do they make wonderful slaves because they can just take so much punishment and keep going, you've heard whispers amongst the homunculi that an orcs get bigger the more they fight and win. It just runs through your head of how big of a rustically brutal war machine you could, with the help of some finely picked supplements, what kind of rustically brutal war machine that one could create out of him. And truly, the possibilities are endless. Gorshmak, what is going through your mind right now?
As the others speak of Necrons, Gorshmak vaguely finds himself wondering just what the hell it is they're actually talking about. His own mind lost in what wonderful little loot his small smattering of teeth might purchase him, as well as how he's going to dethrone the war boss once he gets back to the Planet Crusher.
Well, you know that 44 teeth could buy you a bit. Specifically, you could pick yourself up a new a new slugger, which is a pistol. Could get yourself another weird boy stuff. Could buy you plenty of squiggoth ale. Easily could buy you all the squiggoth ale you could drink for a night. More than that, well, you could drink a lot, so you're gonna need a bit more than 44 teeth's worth for more than a night. But you could get a night of drinking out of it, or what else? If you made a deal with a mech boy, he could probably hook you up with a shooter. Or you could buy a truck engine for that much. Not a truck, just the engine.
Gorshmak's mind wanders between dethroning the war boss, the purchase an eventual painting of a truck engine and enough squig ale to drink himself blind, if only for a night. He finds himself somewhat mindlessly trudging behind the odd group of strange beings he's joined forces with for now, using one hand to toss the sack o' teeth and the other to rub at his head, trying to ease the impending headache that threatens to unleash the wah within him.
Yes, because that's always a problem. Uh, you know, I mean, your kill count. Your kill count in general includes as many hawks as it does everything else, just due to the fact that them boys didn't move away in time, and well, they kind of ended up like that fat bloated rat thing screaming about Great Horn Rat Day down in the Underhive. Pure. Finally, what is it that goes through your mind as you are driving towards the bunker?
Everything on this planet seems to scream the word chaotic. Chaos. Hellfire. Part of his thinking drifts to his allies? No. Benefactor over at the Adeptus Mechanicus. How they could lay the Exterminatus on this whole thing, and it would be better suited. However, as fun as nuking a planet from orbit and through said planet, and the 12 planets behind them, his thoughts turn to recent events of strange abhumans, the Great Horned Rat Day, whatever chaotic grievance that might be. He turns his thoughts towards the Necron. Why are they involved? Why should he care? Why does he care? One word comes to mind. Non-shaping. This mission is to shape his path, his loyalties. And in the end, shaping his loyalties to those that laugh seem to benefit him.
Right. Yes, those who laugh. It's a good thing for us, she knows nothing of that, lest you be thrown into the gas vents of a homunculus lab, or worse.
Yes, it's all thanks to luck of that who laughs, we live.
And as these thoughts percolate through your heads, it is not too long before finally you come to this bunker entrance. See that it's built into the ground and leads downward. And I would like both Cloak and Farashi to make me a scholar test Farashi, you have a +2 to this roll. Did you add the +2 dice, Farashi?
Thought I did. Let's take a look. Scholar. Yeah, I added 2 bonus dice. That's just all it rolled. It was 2, and I get +2, so that should be a 4 dice total.
Yeah, it only rolled 2 dice.
Sure. Click again. Okay, apparently it didn't load, and now it's a complete failure.
All right, so I will count that. I will count that 1 success.
All right.
So you get a 1, and Cloak you get a 3. Rashi, the architecture here looks familiar. It's not Drukari. But it has a sense of familiarity to it that is maybe just a little unsettling. Cloak, you could tell this is Craft World architecture. Eldari architecture. And the fact that it stands like this, the outside's been battered and you can see that there's some chunks missing. It's probably had some, had bombs and other things dropped on it. It looks relatively intact. There's a little rubble here and there. It's dirty as all hell. The blue metal kind of eroded away a little bit. The blue metal eroded away a little, and as it's been left out to the elements and whatnot. But you can tell that the designs, the flowing architecture marks it as very much Eldari, and not the kind of Eldari that your current traveling companion is.
That doesn't make me any less nervous about this whole thing. If able, I'd like to again adapt the camouflage so that I stand out as little as possible against the sky.
Yep.
And do a real quick overhead view of the place to see specifically what I'm looking for is signs of recent attempted intrusion of anyone who might be nearby. So, get a lay of the land and any immediate complications that might arise by either our presence or our attempts to get inside.
All right. That's simple then. Go ahead and make me an awareness. All right. Well, for starters, that nets you a glory. For the rest, 7 successes. You can see that there's been flying over and having a look at the door. You can see that there's been some slight intrusion, as if it's been tampered with. Like, very obviously tampered with. But otherwise, the door looks closed and most likely locked. From above, you can see that there are like defenses here. There are defensive turrets, but they seem to be offline, specifically because they're not shooting at you. You wouldn't have any idea about the specifics of the weapons here, but you could see at the very least that as far as these defense turrets go, these defense platforms go, they're not online, and they've seemed to have been out of operation for quite a while. Maybe the power's off or something along those lines. But either way, you're not getting shot at, and that's really what matters more than anything else.
I am a fan of not being shot at, yes.
Um,
I'll return to the party, and please continue if I've cut you off with additional info you're going to provide. But go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say no. You haven't cut me off with any additional information. You don't. I was just gonna say that you don't see anything that would pose immediate complications.
And I return to the party, and best as I am able to, I don't even outright describe it so much as I find a dusty surface or spot on the ground and sketch it out as best as I can, on the off chance that that positioning of these turrets and the formation of the structure and whatnot might provide further insight for our Drakari friend as to who and why the structure is and what it might contain.
Yep. So for the three of you, once Cloak returns, he starts sketching out a rough like outline and blueprint from what he could see from above for this facility that you found. And with your knowledge, Farashi, the things that you would have been told, the things that you would have seen, especially since some of your most dangerous adversaries have been craft world brethren. This isn't even going to require a scholar roll. You would recognize the general layout of this facility as kind of like a mixture between like a barracks and a storage facility of some kind. Specifically since whilst in the Drukari aesthetic, your superiors use something similar when creating real-world outposts upon which to launch more real space raids. When they're launching protracted raids, they'll also come and build something like this to basically provide a point of forward operations for real space raiding parties to kind of act as a transport nexus and storage of stock that they claim, whether it be, whatever race stock that they're taking. You've also know that they use this format for forward operation homunculus labs too, when a raiding party is having trouble and such, they send a homunculus out to wretchedly stitched together constructs of flesh out of fleshcraft constructs out of the stock that has been taken in order to overcome stronger threats. Specifically, you've seen this done against. You've heard it done against a incursion by those disgusting Monkai. But would give you the basic idea of what this facility might contain, that they might be storing something very powerful here, enough that it would warrant its own stationing of guards and weaponry, and, well, given that he pointed out the fact that there are several defense platforms for anti-air and ground-to-air weaponry. Whatever whoever put this here was looking to defend, if it's not what you're looking for, it has to be something equally as valuable and or powerful, because there's a lot of firepower here. It's inoperable firepower, but there's a lot of firepower here, and you're sure that in its prime, some of these weapons would have been absolutely devastating to incoming ships, no matter the who those ships might belong to. But currently, the facility sits here, seemingly abandoned. Weapons inoperable. Door, whilst it's been tampered with in the past, seems to be closed and locked. And that is what you see and what you are able to gather from pooled knowledge, and Cloak's overlook. What is it that the four of you would wish to do with this information, now that Cloak has drawn out the basics of what the facility looks like, at least from above, and has shared this with you?
In his report, it seemed that they weren't being fired upon, so whoever owns this firepower isn't aggressive, at least.
That is, if it's owned and not abandoned, of course.
Were the craft world Eldari named at all, or just assumed that this was there?
That would be up to Cloak as to whether he shares the information that
Okay.
he's identified this as craft world tech.
Oh yeah, no, it would very much be in the manner of like a field soldier giving a report. Right, Cloak is much more of a soldier type than our gladiatorial comrade, as it were.
Yep. So yes, Pure. Yep. So you would have been told that, yeah, this is definitely Craftworld tech. Who it belongs to, no clue. Like who it actually belonged to, if you're talking like Craftworld colors or anything like that, you would have no idea.
Okay, that was going to be my next question: is would I know the colors of the craft world? But obviously not.
No, it's
It's too rusted out to find out.
Yeah, it's a mixture of 2 rusted out and what's your scholar roll?
I didn't make one, but I'll make one now.
No, I mean your like your dice pool. Like what's your total dice pool?
Oh, oh, excuse me. Total is 2.
Yeah, no, you
No,
you would need way more than that, unfortunately. That would be minimum
that's fine.
DN like 6 or 7. Especially since
No, and
go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead. I formulating thoughts aloud. My bad. Bad habit eating thought.
But basically, like whilst you have been working with the Drukari, especially since they were the ones who put you back together with flesh crafting, your knowledge of the Craft World Brethren, they wouldn't have shared anything of it with you. They only shared knowledge that you may need to know about potential targets, and you haven't been put up against any Craft World Elder.
Correct. Now, Pia would take in the battlefield and take in the new surroundings that we find ourselves. Do we have a way to get inside?
There is a door.
We have the key.
Yeah, you could test to see if the rattling was telling the truth and that if the key fits the door.
As I currently don't actually hold the physical key.
This is true. Speaking of that, in my flight over, did I identify something that looked like a keyhole, for lack of a better word?
There was it was like a blank panel on the a blank panel on the door that was a little bit like a little bit raised off from the rest of the door. So you figure if there's a keyhole, like there's something that looks like that a key might go there. It may not necessarily see that there's like a recess or whatever, but there is like a blank panel that would look like that's where a recess would be for a key.
And was this at a level that one could just, I assume, walk up to it, or would one have to scale? Like, I have no idea how tall this bunker is.
Its height, at least as far as the above ground stuff goes, you're looking about 35-40 meters tall for the largest defense platforms. However, you know that considering it's a bunker, it's probably much. There's probably a lot more to it underground.
A below ground section, yeah, and the panel itself isn't at some weird height where a rattling or I might have to scale to access it.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't have to. You wouldn't have to scale to access it. The door itself actually sits kind of at like a 45-degree angle to the ground. So if you have like the ground and you have like 90 degrees being straight, like standing on the ground straight up, it's at about a 45-degree angle leaned back from you. So it very obviously looks like that you could there wouldn't be any scaling required to put the key in and then go down.
Well, then I'll give the key a shot. I'll stealth up and hope that should things suddenly come to life, as it were, that the elf will save my life, as it were.
All right. So Gorshmak, Pure, and Farashi, you would see Cloak beginning to approach the door with the key. Probably gonna see if he can try and open the door.
Yeah, no commentary or objection. I don't see why not.
Yeah, I'm think.
He's taking all the risks. Why not?
Yes.
Yes, he's taking all the risks, so yeah, why not?
Is there
I
some
think
sort of
we-
role you would like for me?
No. Gorshmak, what are your thoughts as Cloak is going up to see if he can't open this door with this key?
Gorshmak is also watching with muted interest, though he does cast out the beings in his mind, utilizing senescence to try and sense any psychic manifestations in the area surrounding the bunker and weaponry assorted atop it.
Ah, you wish to use Senescence. Yep. So with Senescence, all you need to do is, just like with your other powers, make sure you change willpower to make sure that it loads the dice pool properly. And then make your Senescence roll. That is an 8 on Senescence. So your Senescence roll gives you it's DN3, so it does manifest properly. Although it's not an actual power, so you won't take, like, if you ever roll a 1 on a Senescence, you don't take mortal wounds or whatever. It's just a psychic power-like ability. But you open your mind to the veil of the warp around you, or the Wa in this case, because, well, whilst it kind of uses the warp, it also kind of uses the orky stuff. But you see, this entire bunker just seems to be one massive psychic manifestation here. Just this amalgamation of just different psychic powers all together. You don't get any specifics on it, and you don't get any, like, sources. Or if there are psychics inside, you don't detect any of those. But you do see that there are psychic manifestations pretty much everywhere, all over this thing. Considering you have heard of the Naive Yumis before and how they like to use their Yumi magics, or so the Warboss puts it, you're pretty sure that this seems to be pretty par for the course. But I mean, there's also, you'll want to be careful because, well, the last thing you want is to get like blown up by Yumi magics, because Yumi magics can be very dangerous.
Gorshmak can be heard kind of mumbling to himself, and while most of it is unintelligible, a bit of it does come through. Gorshmak have a raw feeling about this. Otherwise, he falls silent and continues to watch as Cloak goes to do their dirty work, as it were.
Yes. And speaking of which, Cloak, as you approach with the key, the blank panel begins to glow a little, the blank panel kind of receding a little bit to show a recess upon which one could stick a key.
Well, I'm a simple man. I don't know about cloak, but I'm a simple man. If I have a key and there's a keyhole,
Stick the key in the keyhole.
exactly.
And as you go to stick the key in the keyhole, you can see that the key is reacting to the hole and the hole to the key, as you would expect. And with the insertion of the key and a half turn to the right, as you half turn it to the right, it doesn't turn to the left, but as you half turn it to the right, the key would slide back out of the hole, the panel would recede into the door, and the two large doors would begin to slide open. There's nothing else that comes online at this stage, aside from some, what you're assuming is probably some kind of ambient lights inside. But it opens to reveal a hallway lit with some blue lighting. This is the same steel color, like blue color that you can see on the outside, and it leads forward and down.
And once more with that will, are you coming gesture and expression?
Yep. So.
I'll readily approach.
Yep.
Galvanic rifle at the ready.
Yep, and as you draw your galvanic rifle, leveling it at the ready as you slowly approach the door.
Yeah, I'll be taking this military tactic of cutting the pie.
Okay.
Once those that assembled, I want to go through. Assemble. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, I understand what cutting the pie means.
Yeah. Do I see anything as I approach the door?
Nothing of note, really.
Just big ass door?
Yep, big ass door. I mean, you see a little rubble off to the side. Maybe a piece of the architecture's been blown off or eroded off or something like that. But nothing of major note as far as like anything that's all like of interest or is going to kill you or
Okay.
things of that note of that nature.
Nothing fun. Nothing fun then.
Nothing fun. Yeah. Farashi. As the door opens to this place, it's, as you've seen buildings of this design before, although not of this architecture, and you see that Cloak and Fiora are making their way through, being cautious, of course. What is it that you're doing in this moment as the door is open and you can see the forward and downward slope that leads further into this facility?
I'll be following close behind, but I am keeping an eye out for those defensive turrets. Well, all indications thus far has been that there is no active portion to them. It's amazing on how quickly such things might have suddenly become active. Regardless of what has been seen, I just don't trust.
That is more than fair enough. You know your craft world brethren to be they're tricksy, very tricksy. All that grace, and they can only use it for deceptive purposes. It's a real shame. Gorshmak. As you as you glance upon this, what's going through your head? This long staircase? Yeah, staircase that leads down into this facility. The massive doors, very obviously Yumi tech.
Gorshmak casts his thoughts about letting the pain of the magic that's already fueling him add more tinder to the fire of his so far bridled rage as he considers what enemies and how many teeth might be awaiting them at the end of this staircase. His thoughts, as always, turn towards the war boss and his words as he was sent out on this mission. Help the Humies, deceive the Yumis, and bring back the loots after crumping them all.
Right, yes.
Yes.
So
You resist the urge to cast out a yell and see how long it echoes.
okay. So you do cast out a yell. And it seems to travel down this long hallway. It doesn't echo for very long. It does echo for a little while, but not very long. You remember one of the mech boys teaching you how to judge proper distance for shooting by yelling at them. Judge distance for shooting and crumping Yumis by yelling, and from the echo that you get back, you figure that it's probably going to be a bit of a walk, easily 3 to 4 steins of squiggoth ale, because that is one of the many ways that orcs try to measure time. And in standard time, that would take about 25 minutes to half an hour. For the average orc, that is.
His newly acquired knowledge of the distance it's relatively away, Gorshmak sets off at a bit of a faster pace than usual, leaning heavily upon his staff as he hobble jumps down the staircase.
All right. Given the elevation of the room, that's something that you could very easily do. The hallway itself that leads down is kind of boring. There's not really anything of major note along its walls. Just some regular Eldari runes and things of that nature that are just uninteresting. Probably instructions. and things of like that. But when you reach the door at the bottom, that's when things get interesting. You see before you another massive door. There's a switch over on the side to open it. This one doesn't require a key. But upon it are 3 words written in Eldari. Farashi and Pure, you can, as you both know Eldari, you would be able to read this. Cloak, you would be able to make a scholar check with a +1 die roll to attempt to read this. Gorshmak, if you were interested in reading this, you'd just be able to make a flat scholar check.
Wait, Gorshmak can read?
Yes, weird boys can actually read. Not very well, but they can read, compared to the regular orc.
I didn't realize on how many superpowers Gorshmak had. That's amazing.
Yeah. Weird boys are great. Alright, so Cloak, with your 2, you know that the language is Eldari. But unfortunately, you haven't learned to read the runes just yet. You can read it as when the words are kind of like when you get like a Hepburnization of Japanese, where like you can read the Romaji but not the actual kana. This is the same kind of the same thing. Like whilst you know Eldari words, you don't know you haven't studied the runes enough to know what rune equals what phonetic sound. Gorshback, you've only learned how to read the Yumi letters and the Orc letters. This is other Yumi letters, and you don't know what Yumi letters these are, and as such, you cannot read them at all.
Gorshmak thinks a squig ear.
Yes, you think there are squiggle on the other side of this door. And I mean, for everything that is here, maybe some of your cousins from another clan have been through here, and maybe there is squiggle behind this door. You have no idea at this stage. Farashi and Pure, on the other hand, as you can read this both perfectly, as you both understand the language, this reads Forbidden Information Storage.
Well, isn't that just promising?
Does that say what I think it says, Farashi?
Well, to be fair, if I learned anything from history, the more that it tells you not to do something, the more you should do it.
Yeah, so my language is correct in that a information reliquary.
Yes, it's an information relic. Yeah, fantastic observation. More accurately, it is forbidden information. Forbidden.
So,
Enter in. Why don't you ask your brother to step in? She's not even switching to Eldari either. She's actually saying this completely in local, like letting him know that this is what she's saying.
He gives her a look of, well, if it needs to be opened, then it shall be opened. And he's going to try to either look for a hidden switch or tap on it to see what happens. If this one wants in, we're getting in.
I discreetly position myself behind Korshmak.
He is a big orc, and you can hide behind him, yes. But no, there is a... As Cloak positions himself very discreetly behind Gorshmak, and I mean, truly, given the circumstances, could you blame him? And Gorshmak, with the thought in your mind of there being Squigale behind this door. Do you believe the text? Do you believe the text that reads Squigale here? Or at least that's what you think it reads. And I suppose the second question after that is, are you thirsty?
Gorshmak always thirsty.
And thus Farashi views history repeating itself.
So I would take it, Gorshmak, that you would like to open the door.
Yes.
All right. So luckily, it is like a touch switch. On one side of the door, you are. Whilst you don't have a major understanding of how like most tech works, you understand the concept of like touchscreen buttons. It's something that one of the mechs on board kind of explained to you as an aside whilst they were sprucing up the war boss's truck, saying that they had hijacked had looted some Yumi tech to put into the truck for the war boss. They kind of taught you how it works. In that it's a button, but it's like a button on a screen, and you press the screen and it presses the button. It's basically how it was explained to you.
Farashi at this point goes around, watches for something that's about to spring, presuming that something is trapped, as we have been warned. And I believe it's about here. We're probably going to find an ash pile just behind the door.
You pop. You as the door opens. You do
I'm
not.
taking careful aim at that door, by the way.
Yes. I have noted this.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yep. As the door opens, you can see that there are not any piles of ash. However, as you are all off to the side, you would see a singular blast of energy fly through the door. Am I roboting? Or are we good?
I think you did cut out a few.
Okay.
Not that I've heard so far. You've been good for me.
You did a half second of as the door, or and you cut off for a half second.
Okay. Yeah. So it's probably just Discord throwing a little bit of a fit.
Or
So-
Australian internet.
yeah. Either or. Anywho, as the door opens, there is a blast of energy that flies through, straight through the middle. Luckily, it doesn't hit any of you, because you are off to the side, but you would see that it fills the hallway.
That not squig ale.
And you would see that there's this turret on mounted to the roof that seems to fold up and back up into the roof as the door is now open. But if you had been standing there, if you had been standing there, that would have hurt. That would have hurt very badly. But you are not vaporized. The energy blast is gone away. And you are now greeted with the sight of the first room, which is it seems to be like a large foyer / common / transit area type room, where you see other rooms off to the side. For the two of you that can read Eldari, reading things like armory and living quarters and things of that nature. And you do also see one of the rooms that reads Information Vault.
Question about the turret in the middle of the room.
The one that was in the middle of the room, yeah.
Yes. Is it spooled, or does it look like it's spooled up before it presumably launched the whatever at us?
It was just a straight energy blast. So there's no like spooling or anything. It was kind of just instant.
Does it sound like it still needs to discharge?
No.
I'm going to make my way toward the Forbidden Knowledge room.
Alright, you're gonna head for the Information Vault.
And stop number 1, yes.
Yes. Alright. So as Pure moves into the room and nothing else activates currently, what do the rest of you do? Actually, I'll get a little specific. Gorshmak, how are you feeling finding out that there's not squig air, that wasn't squig air behind that door?
Gorshmak is grumbling to himself about the utter dearth of squig ale as he follows behind Pure. He does keep a watchful eye around him on the off chance that maybe one of these branching doorways of the hallway contains his undoubted trove of squig ale that must be hidden in these halls.
Alright. So I'm guessing you are going door to door searching for squig ale?
Yeah.
Alright. Cloak. As you are hiding behind Gorsmack, you avoid whatever kind of disintegration may have awaited you. With that beam. You see that Pure is heading for the Information Vault. And Gorshmak is looking around to the other rooms.
I've taken plenty of risks at this point, and now that we're in the Temple of Doom, as it were, I'm happy to let them take more of the risks from here on out. Cloak is fairly certain that whatever this tesseract, as it were, that they've been sent here to find, he's not going to be the one to walk away with it. So as it is, he's surveying the place to see what he can make out with or come back later for, if possible, to benefit as much from this endeavor as he can. Because he knows he can't take the Drakarian in one-on-one combat. And he suspects that that's where it will go when it comes time to claim the prize.
Smart. I made a smart decision, all things considered. But you. So Cloak, you begin looking around for pretty much following Gorshmak. Although you're looking for actual things to loot, whereas Gorshmak is looking specifically for his squig ale that was specifically promised to be in here by those stupid Yumi words on the door.
Mm-hmm.
They said there was squig ale in here. Where is it? Finally.
You think humans would do that? Just write words and lie?
Oh, I'm sorry. I love it. Truly, I love it. But finally, Farashi, you see that Cloak and Gorshmak are looking in the other rooms, and Pure is headed straight for the information vault. Are you going to take a look around as well, or are you going to follow along straight with Pure, straight into the information vault?
I believe it would be best to end up going into the information vault just to see where we may be able to track down any lead for the Tesseract.
Alright, so I will handle this in two separate interactions. First, we will go to Gorshmak and Cloak, and next we will go to Pure and Farashi. And then we'll go on break. So, Gorshmak and Cloak, you begin to look around this structure. Gorshmak for the squiggle that you were promised. You're probably rummaging through some stuff to see if it's hidden under something. And Cloak, you're looking for things that you could loot.
Accurate.
So there are a couple of different rooms in here. Specifically, there is a living quarters, an armory, a medical bay, and a meditation room. Gorshmak, where would you like to start looking for your squig ale?
In the medical bay.
Okay, so you're going to start looking in the medical bay for your squig ale. Cloak, where are you going to start looking for loot?
Well, I can't read Eldare, and Gorshmak is my meat shield, as it were, so following Gorshmak.
You're following Gorshmak. Alright. So, Gorshmak and Cloak, you both enter the medical bay. Now, you've seen what medical bays look like, what Medicaid bays look like normally. There's different variations and whatnot based on where you're from. Like Cloak, you've seen the inside of several different ones. You've seen Imperium style med bays. You've seen Eldari style med bays. And this is just looking like a stereotypical example of an Eldari medical bay / infirmary. Gorshmak, you've never seen a medical bay quite like this one. Not that you know that this is a medical bay at all, really. You know that the dock working area on the planet Smasher, the dock working areas you've been to on various planets where there are encampments for wars and things like that, are very different. The only like indication that gives you that these may even be remotely similar is that you see a set of medical tools that look a lot like Doc's tools, sitting there, although a lot more refined, a lot more Yumi looking. But you can tell that they look to have similar purposes to the things that you're used to.
Gorshmak looks around the presumably once sterile room, though it's probably far from sterile at this point in its career as a room, as it were, and snorts viciously. Snot flies from each of his widening nostrils in frustration, quickly mounting at his inability to find Squigale in the promised land of Squigale. He kind of pokes at some of the tools that he can see in his immediate vicinity, trying to ascertain, if not Squigale, what bounties he could gain from this room.
Go ahead and make me an awareness, Gorshmak. I also didn't realize that the music cut off, so I fixed that. But yeah, go ahead and... Ah! 2 and a complication! Alright, I actually have the perfect thing here. Gorshmak, you're looking around, and something does catch your eye. You see that there are... In one of the cabinets, you see that there are several bottles. Like, plastic bottles. And upon further examination of these plastic bottles, and maybe they're filled with a clear liquid, and upon sniffing the clear liquid, it smells like squig ale. Or it smells something similar to squig ale. It's missing that kind of fungusy funk that squig ale has. But the base smell is there. Maybe this is the Yumi equivalent.
Gorshmak grins triumphantly and tosses one of the bottles haphazardly, maybe a little bit too hard, at Cloak before lifting his head back and upending the contents as much onto his face as into his massive maw.
Gorshmak, I would like you to make me a toughness test, please.
I had a feeling that was coming.
Yes. So 3 is enough. It tastes like bitter, but it tastes good. you guess? But it's no squig ale. Very obviously not squig ale, but it tastes decently enough.
Gorshmak wipes the lips of his maw with one meaty forearm. He doesn't cap the bottle that he's just drained, instead crushing it and letting the plastic fall to his feet as he gathers up as many of the bottles as he can find, aside from the one that he tossed to Cloak, or at Cloak, depending on how you want to view that.
Yeah. It's probably a little column A, a little column B, as you're just like, I found the squig ale I was promised. This isn't squig ale. And tossing it back anyway. Cloak.
Yeah, I'm not so foolish as to follow that example, but I am curious as to what is in this bottle and any of these bottles that be it through persuasion or deception, if they're worth anything, I might be able to get my hands on, depending on what's in them.
When Cloak refuses to drink from the bottle, Gorshmak narrows his eyes and slams his staff into the ground. Drink!
Well, a moment to examine the bottle first.
Yeah, he's kind of looking over the bottle. Cloak, go ahead and make me a scholar. This is going to be a really low DC, really low DN, because you'd be able to, at the very least, like from sniffing it, whatnot, kind of deduce what's in the bottle. So go ahead and make me either a scholar or an investigation, your choice. 2. You take a whiff, and it smells strongly of alcohol, but not the regular kind of like alcohol that you would normally drink in like a bar.
Rubbing alcohol, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much like, you could probably deduce that it's pretty much the equivalent of rubbing alcohol. And I mean, Gorshmak, Gorshmak managed to drink it down without too many issues.
Yeah, no, I'm good, but I do, when he insists I drink, I do my best to convince him, since he's insisting, and I don't want to take him on in any sort of combat if I can help it. That I have a better drink I can make with this later on once we're done.
Okay.
Better drink than bad squig ale?
Cloak. This is actually going to be a contest. When the sheet wishes to play nicely with me. Doesn't want to play nice. It's fine. I'll reopen it and resize it that way. So I would like you to make me Cloak. I'd like you to make me a deception. Because you are lying. Contested by Gorshmak's insight. The deception is 3. Gorshmak's insight is terrible. Gorshmak, Cloak says that he could make a better drink. with the bad Squigale. Maybe he has a way to turn bad Squigale into good Squigale. You feel inclined to believe him.
Yeah, holy heck, that roll.
Gorshmak hoards the rest of the bottles, shoving them into pouches about his person, intent to hold the wayward Kroot to his word.
I hope you know how to I hope you know how to chemistry cloak, because Goshmak is gonna hold you to that.
All I have to do is find something better to drink. Doesn't necessarily have to be made with this.
That is fair. That is very fair. As you guys have your little chat about the ins and outs of bad Squigale, aka the Eldari equivalent of rubbing alcohol. That's why I had you make a toughness test, Korshmak, because because you know. We are going to very quickly cut to the information vault with Farashi and Pior. Sorry, Peror, rather, because there is another R in there. The other R is not silent. Probably. I don't know. Peror, you open the door first to the information vault, as you were the one who was there first. And Farashi, you quickly follow behind as you enter into this large strategium type room with a well, you can see that this holographic projector in the middle is on, and there's showing a giant green orb as a hologram, of course. So when the Ratling was talking about giant glowing green thing, this might have been what they were talking about.
My disappointment is overwhelming. However, if I recall the exact statements of the disgusting little means of entertainment, I would end up recalling that upon trying to touch it is when they were incinerated.
They said they tried to do something with it. They tried to utilize it somehow, like activate it, press buttons, touch it, things of that nature.
Well, then I think it's best to observe the technology and see what we can do. Hopefully, we can do better than just randomly pushing buttons.
All right.
How many of them are still alive, Farashi?
Depends on the time. I'm not sure on how long it takes for them to bleed out.
We could use a few sacrificial pawns. Promise them false reward. Glory. This horned rat day. If they solve the mystery of the puzzle. Obviously, if they solve it incorrectly, we have no problem. And if they happen to solve it, well, they're not making out here alive.
I'd like to observe the room, see what they could have accidentally pressed that would cause what they were discussing, or understand the room.
Alright. So it'd be an awareness to generally look around the room. If you want to piece some stuff together, that would be an investigation. If you kind of want to like analyze the tech specifically, that'll be a tech test. It's one of those three.
Well, it's the same all around, so might as well roll the tech. The only one, actually, no, tech, because awareness ain't gonna help me. Yay, I got one.
You got 2 successes. Not only that, you netted a glory.
Sweet.
I'll do the awareness since he did the tech.
Go ahead and make an awareness. And that's 4. Alright, so I will describe the tech test first. Farashi, this is very obviously an Eldari Wraithbone compendium. There must be a Wraith construct downstairs holding, like Soulstone construct downstairs holding all of this information. And that this is some sort of machine used to query about different topics and whatnot. You can tell that they were probably asked to give some kind of designation. And considering that the designation most likely wasn't in Eldari, the machine's defense is activated and vaporized them.
Which would imply that I would have some understanding as to what I could offer as far as access and not have to worry about the defensive act, correct?
Yes, if you give a designation in Eldari, at the very least it won't vaporize you. You know that much.
And
as for the awareness test, this room is actually pretty barren, all things considered. There's the massive holographic stratagem in the middle of the room that Farashi is currently examining. And, thinking over what she could do to actually utilize this thing. Piror, you can tell that into the walls there are embedded pieces of a material that you haven't come across before. Woven into the walls, but from the Eldari runes all across it, it looks very obviously Eldari. And it seems to be webbed into the walls like some kind of network. At the very top of the room, there is also a single blue stone embedded into the roof. And very heavily embedded into the roof at that.
What does the texture of the material look like?
Looks like bone.
Is there a way to put 2 and 2 together with the Necrons to get fish?
I would say either investigation or scholar.
Okay. A total pool of that versus a total pool of that. Okay, well, didn't matter. So don't screw me. That's what I thought.
2. Well, 2 ain't bad. Yeah, there's nothing really to put together here. You know that, the Eldar use a bone-like substance, especially against beings made of living metal, such as the Necrons. The Necrons hate it. The Necrons hate it a hell of a lot. You also know that it's used in some of the Eldari's biggest war machines, the Wraithbone Titans. which are just massive constructs made of this stuff and animated with several Eldari souls used to take on massive Imperium war machines and the like.
Do I know for a fact that it is, or what it's called, other than the bone-like substance?
You've heard it referred to in passing as Wraithbone, but you wouldn't be sure if that's its actual name or not. But you can make an assumption.
There seems to be bones buried in the walls. Does this help you, Farashi, with your machine?
Well, therein lies the question. But Farashi, I said from your tech test, you've kind of gathered as much as you can about this machine, what it does, and how it works. The only thing you could really do now is attempt to test it.
And I will do so.
Okay.
See if it is me.
You touch. You touch the terminal and it lights up. Kind of the green orb expanding into into like a screen, upon which Eldari runes begin to type. And you hear from a speaker, some kind of speaker device in the room, please, in Eldari, so Puro, you'd also understand this. Please state your designation.
Things back. Is there any... It's just asking for...
Yep, it's just asking for a designation. It's not asking for like a rank or...
Okay. Oh, actually, that one. Farsia Virat.
Okay. You state that in Eldari, I'm assuming.
Of course.
The screen reacts. You have designated yourself as Farsia Virat. This is in Eldari. Scanning database for recognition. Confirmed. Welcome, Farsia.
Access all near data involving near Tesseract found on local planet, or found on planet.
Querying. Information found on subject Tesseract. The Tesseract is a highly unstable object. Origin? Unknown, but speculated to be Decrontia. Location? Buried within a complex located 650 distance units from current location. Warning. The construct believes that this Tesseract is defended by several highly powerful defenses. Attempting to retrieve it at this time is ill-advised.
Kind of gives she kind of gives Pinard a small smirk. Well, that make things interesting.
Yes.
Give us data on all known defenses and locational data.
Showing all defenses and locational data as requested. And you would be given just a comprehensive list of everything that you're asking for as far as defenses and locational data for pretty much every Craftworld installation on the planet.
Now, I'd like to end up getting a copy of all the data that is available that is pertinent to our particular quest, would you call it? I hate that. But then again, I hate almost anything that doesn't involve the arena, so I guess that's par for the course. This is a way for me to end up here bringing this knowledge and data for use outside of this facility.
Yes. Yes, you would be able to take the what you calls it. You would be able to take the data with you.
Is there a portable cogitator?
It wouldn't be like a cogitator per se, but it would be a it would be an equivalent that you would be able to use.
Okay. I will be noting down the list of armaments in the area. At least, the immediate area. Mentally.
Yeah, which is fine. You were able to do that, no problem.
What about armaments for this facility?
Current defense.
Spoken in perfect Eldar. Yep. Sorry.
That's fine. Current defensive capabilities of this facility are at 10%. Defense weaponry and artillery is offline and inoperable.
What about small arms? Personal weapons.
The armory is currently at full capacity.
Well, that'll definitely end up bringing spring back into max step.
Yes. We are at agreement that visiting the armory is probably our best action at this point.
And there is also a list of what is in the armory.
Well, if that's the case, then perhaps I end up grabbing the directions towards and get ready to head out, as I have some good news for well, the one who wants to do all the crumping and loot.
Oh yeah. You saw the sign for the armory when you came in, and it would give you a direction of literally out the door. And given where from your directions, it would literally be the second door on the right. When you came in, it would have been the first door on the left.
Anything in that room more advanced than what I'm currently using? Or on par?
Probably. I said the
And-
armory is fully stocked, and there is if you grab it, there is a massive manifest of what the armory normally comes stocked with.
Oh, we are grabbing that manifest.
All right, there is just it is a massive manifest of weapons, both melee and not. Um, a whole bunch of melee weapons, things like singing spears, witch blades, void sabers, um, other such other such melee weapons that the Eldari normally use. Las blasters, shuriken weapons, long rifles, and um, among many other things that can be found within that area. There's a lot. There's a hell of a lot of weapons. In fact, some things will catch your eye so much so that there is some noting of the bestiary being stocked with some pilfered Drukari weapons.
I will point that out immediately.
Farashi, it is pointed out to you by Peror that this manifest contains some very obviously Drukari weapons. Like they have like a dozen or so razor flails.
I think I best inquire at that.
So you're going to inquire to the machine how those came to be in the armor.
Explanation as why it has a mixed arms, since this seems to be a Eldari.
Yep. Querying. The Drukari weapons currently found within the armory were as a result of a particular deal made by the former commander of this facility with the Drukari raiding party during the war. This deal happened approximately 25 standard cycles ago.
Well then. This will be interesting. Anything you need? He'd look to it.
I would feel better with a bigger boom, as it were.
Well, then it's time to go prepare. I'm going to deliver the wonderful news to Gorshmak myself.
Depends on how excited he is to find things. We might want to make it seem less full than usual. Omit a few items if it were. He will head toward the door as he mentions, "Your weapons are yours." Heading toward the armory with a purpose.
And I believe that there was the hunt for something called squig. So, let's see what they found.
Yes.
How
Oop, go ahead.
and how much standard currency do you want if he is dead from what he drank?
I believe that question is aimed at you, Farashi. Peror is asking
Yes.
you, basically making a bet with you. How much do you want to bet that he's killed himself by drinking some kind of poison?
Oh, Gorshmak. This is his name.
We think.
A loud snuffling from the other room calls out in response, followed by Gorshak!
Yes, that'll. I follow it to find Gorshmak. Gorshmak. Oh, go ahead.
So, I was just going to say, the machine kind of like logs itself off. Unless you were specifically wanting to keep that active, it kind of logs itself off.
I am logging off at this point. I can access it.
Yeah.
I can access it as I go.
Yeah. So you basically tell the machine to log off in Eldari, and it'll do so. And as you make your way towards Gorshmak, you will find Gorshmak in cloak in the medical bay. Gorshmak with. Gorshmak, are you drinking another bottle of the squig ale?
He's still kind of face and torso drenched in it, but he's hoarding the rest because this Kroot has promised an alchemical transformation from bad squig ale to good.
Okay. So, Farashi and Peror, you come in to see Gorshmak has a liquid all over his face and torso. And the smell of it. Well, Farashi, you know what that smells like. The homunculus labs, some of the homunculus labs reek of this stuff. It's a it's a different. It's called a different thing in the Eldari tongue, but just as an out of character note, it's an equivalent to rubbing alcohol. It's used to like disinfect stitching and whatnot when they want the stitched creatures to remain alive and clean.
Oh, it's an antiseptic.
Among other things. Among many other things.
Can I get a clear look at one of the discarded bottles that are probably all over the place?
There's only one. And it looks like a plastic bottle, like a medical storage container.
Is there any words upon the
There,
bottle that I can make out?
there is not. But the smell is pretty obvious as to what it is. And from it being all plastered all over Gorshmak's face and torso, Farashi Peror, you could probably assume that he drank some.
Bjor will mutter in Eldari. Well, he's not dead. Just an idiot.
So yes, that is Farashi Peror. That is what you come. That is the current state of Gorshmak that you come across.
Dear. Is there a. Are you a. Explain.
Gorshmak thirst? Gorshmak find squig ale in room? Gorshmak drink? Crude no drink? Beaky Ilmi? Him tell Orc turn bad squig ale to good squig ale. Orc like good squig ale.
Well, that explains absolutely nothing. However, in lieu of the ale of Squig, I believe I can provide you with another source of entertainment. Come this way, and bring the other bird thing with you. She kind of just has a slight look of confusion as she's not sure if she's communicating this properly. How does... Communication without a razor flail is so difficult!
Yes, it is. And you can see that one of the if you do say that out loud, you would see that one of your devotees would offer you her razor flail if it would help. But Cloak and Gorshmak,
I
you
would
are
have translated.
yeah.
I would have translated to Gorshmak that Dhaka that way.
Okay. So Gorshmak, you are told that there is Dhaka. There is Dhaka here.
Gorshmak's face lights up and he all but skips after the two. Daka, 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 daka.
Cloak.
You'll hear choppa, 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 choppa as he walks forward.
Okay. And Cloak, you are currently you've heard all of this talking how you promised Gorshmak this transformation of bad Squigale into good Squigale, and that Farashi seems to have found something. Found something very entertaining, which they seem to be heading towards, and that you should come with.
Well, now they have a spare moment where, Gorshmak isn't hovering, as it were. I'll give it the room one more quick scan, see if there's anything pocketable that's worth worth the effort, other than just rubbing alcohol, as it were. Difficult since I don't speak Eldari, but as you said, I've been in several med bays.
Yeah, you could make like general assumptions that this is this thing and that's what this does.
Yeah.
As far as in here, no, not really. There may be a med kit that you can take, but like a first aid kit like a portable first aid kit, but otherwise no. For the simple fact of people have been in here before, and you can see that some stuff has already been taken, and
Gotcha.
because ratlings are really not all that smart, they probably just took stuff that they knew that they could use, like medical supplies.
Well, first aid kit can't hurt unless I really screw up my roll, so at least it's something.
That is true. That is very, very true.
And we might need it, so we'll grab that in the very least and follow, since, I can always use... I definitely need something better than my crit gun, so...
Fair enough. Very fair enough. Now, okay. Yes, don't think there's anything new in here that there is not. Okay, then I don't need to worry about that book. Good, good, good. So, you would see that Farashi, Pure, Paror, Gorshmak, and Cloak, you would all head for the armory. And as you enter into the armory, Farashi, you see just rows of weapons, both craft-walled and not craft-walled. You see you see shuriken weapons, you see splinter weapons. The only thing not present between both Drukari and craft-walled weaponry are things that are very specifically unique. Things like you don't see any Hekatari blades in here. But you do see you don't see anything like there's no dragon's breath flamers in here. There's no fire pikes in here. There's no ancient weapons. Like you don't see any of the weapons that you from the what they call aspect warriors.
Oh, the Guardians.
Yeah, the Guardians. So like you don't see like shining spears. You don't see you don't see like specific Dire Avenger Shuriken catapults. You don't see things like that. But everything else, as far as like Eldari and Drukari weapons, you see that there's quite a large amount of splinter pistols, splinter cannons, shard carbines, splinter rifles, heat lancers, haywire blasters.
Well, look, Gorshmak, I promised you loot, did I not?
Looten and Krumpen. That's what lady said.
And while there's no Krumpen, there's definitely looting to be done here. Not only is there looting, this is looting that could help you do more Krumpen.
This is a strange feeling. It's unusual. It settles in the pit of my stomach. It makes me want to throw up. I believe this may have been the first promise I've ever kept. Ugh. Ugh. Shakes me to my foundation. Disgusts me so thoroughly.
And I think as we come into the armory and everything begins to be examined, Gorshmak, I'm sure, being exceptionally happy that he has been brought into a room full of Darker and Choppy.
Gorshmak's eyes are brimming with delight, like the video of the old Nintendo kid unwrapping his newfound favorite Christmas present. If you didn't know him better, you might think he'd be crying.
Yes, there is a lot of Darker in this room, and you're just wondering if you took some of this back to the Mech Boy, if you could like strap a whole bunch of them together and make them all fire at once to make even more Darker.
Oh, why didn't Gorshmak think of this first?
Gorshmak, you remember that you were too busy thinking about Squig Ale to you were way too busy thinking about Squig Ale to be kind of bothered with Darker. But I mean, now that there's Darker here, you have Darker and you have, I mean, it's bad Squig Ale that Cloak would promised would turn into good Squig Ale, but you have some kind of Squig Ale and you have more Darker. Today is a good day.
Gorshmak, find Gorshmak, happy place. And he starts rifling through all of the assorted Daka assembled in the armory.
Alright. And Cloak, as you come in and see all of this, what is it that you are doing? Is there anywhere in here that you go in particular, or are you just going to join in with the rifling through of?
I mean, it's an armory, so I don't imagine there's a lot of places to go to. Obviously, I'm always looking for upgrades, and I can't very well carry all of this out at the moment. So I'll grab what's useful to me without being too much of a burden. So a new English, a new long gun, some sort of melee weapon. It's mostly our Eldari weapons, I imagine. So there's nothing here I'm particularly familiar with.
Yeah, but I mean, you've got there's probably a firing range that you could probably do some weapon testing and whatnot with.
Well, like I said, I'm particularly looking for new long rifles, so I'll grab a few items that look interesting, and as you said, there's probably a firing range. I'll go test them out.
Yes. So here's what we're gonna do. Um, so here's what we're gonna do. I think here is the perfect set to do a breakpoint for the roleplay portion of the session. But I'm gonna lead you guys out of character for a moment and talk about a little bit of the mechanics of what you found. So what I'm going to allow is this. Um, so it's kind of gonna it's gonna work a bit like this. You are going to have access to every kind of weapon that has either the Eldari or the Drukari keyword that is not unique. That is how packed this armory is. I will say that you could. I would say that with how much is in here, you could take up to 24. 24 wealth. 24? No, no. Considering how expensive a lot of this stuff is, actually, I'll make it 30. 30 wealth worth of weapons and other such things, as there'll be equipment in here too. With either the Drukari or the Eldari keywords. I'll go through and compile a list of what's pickable. But basically, you guys are going to get the chance here to gear up with various things. Normally, like considering like weapon buying and whatnot normally doesn't happen in Wrath and Glory, I figured this would be the best way to show how one might actually procure weapons is finding them. The other one is requesting them from the Departamento Munitorum for Imperium games, but of course, we're not Imperial scum. So, I said I will. You can go ahead and pick up to 30 wealth worth of weapons.
Is that each?
Yes, that's each. This is a fully packed armory, so there would easily be 500-600 wealth worth of weapons. 30 is just what you would be able to. Each is what you'd be able to feasibly carry, and each of your devotees will also get 30. They'll get one weapon each to extra to wield, and the rest will go into the Land Raider as stuff that you could feasibly carry. But no, that would be each, because there is a lot in here, and you could end up spending a whole bunch of that on like grenades and whatnot, which are relatively easy to carry, all things considered. For example, a plasma grenade, which is the main kind of grenade in here. Where is that? Grenade and missile weapons. Like plasma grenades are value 5. Just as an example. Other grenades and whatnot, such as like melter bombs and things of those melter bombs and things like that. Like those are value 6, but they're relatively tiny. But that's a lot of the stuff that you'd be able to find in here.
I think that is something we're gonna have to end up doing afterwards. At this
Oh.
point,
Oh yeah, no,
I don't think
definitely
we're gonna be
is.
spending the next hour on that.
No. I was just letting you know, like, that's the mechanics of how this is going to work.
Yeah.
You're going to have a bit of downtime to, test the weapons, get accustomed to the weapons, so that next session you would be able to just walk out with them.
Fair.
Does rarity affect anything at this point, or is it just wealth value of 30?
So long as it's total wealth value of 30, so all the items you take can't exceed 30 wealth value. As far as rarity goes, you have access to everything that's not unique. So, for an example from the Eldari weapons, like, you don't have access to, like, a fire pike or a hawk's talon or a sun rifle or a star lance or things like that.
A shooter cannon.
Yeah. You also wouldn't have stuff like Tempest Launcher, a Triskel, or a Web of Skulls.
No, but the Whip of Skulls is fun.
Yes, the Whip of Skulls is fun, but it's also unique, and that's the kind of thing that they wouldn't store in a regular armory. Everything else, on the other hand, I know that on the tabletop, at the very least, when he plays his Craft World Elder, that Derek is very, very partial to the scatter laser. Which, there are scatter lasers in here.
Oh, Kevin, you have my attention.
Yes, I have your attention. That is good.
Yes.
But, yes, I will, like, compile a list of stuff that you guys will be able to grab. And then you can go ahead and make your selections over the week, and then we can come back with you guys having, done some tests with additional things. Like ammunition is not gonna be a problem at the moment. Like during your testing, you're still only gonna have 3 reloads on you unless you specifically decide to take more, but that will take wealth out of your total pool. But that'll be the basics of how this kind of stock up and weapon grabbing and whatnot will work. And so, with that, I'm going to actually very quickly take us back to here. With that, I would say, my friends, that this presentation for now has come to an end. And that we can't wait to see you next week, whereupon we will be having a look at what happens with these new weapons and the exploration from this place, looking for this Tesseract, now thought to be possibly Necrontyr, whoever they are. P.S. It's pretty obvious because, well, Games Workshop. But that is all from us. So we can't wait to see you for the next streaming on the Gathering of Nerds, which will be Brisbane by night this Tuesday, Australian Eastern Standard Time, Monday nights American time, and the next episode of Warhammer 40k Wrath and Glory, Howl of the Lost. Wrath of the Glory. I mean, that sounds pretty cool, but no. Wrath and Glory, Howl of the Lost. Next week, Thursday evenings for the American time and Friday afternoons for Australian time. Until then, say goodnight, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Wow.
Can I jump up